The soul pole represents the advent of African Americans' history coming to America, starting from the bottom to the top, when they got us in the homeland, brought us to America to enslave us, up to freedom, which is the top piece. So in conversations with my father, we always talked about the pursuit of freedom for our people. He was an activist, trained all of his children in that formula of searching for freedom. So a lot of our conversations could be directly linked to the history of the soul pole. My father's, when he came into activism, his goal has always been that of a teacher for his people, a lover of the Black people, and all of his attitude was about our people and the need for freedom. I would say that the soul pole embodies his activism, from the ground up.
The soul pole was created over the summer of 1969 by 6 students, we believe, as part of the Rotary Boys Club. I believe 5 of them were from Garfield High School and lived in the Central District. For the course of the next few years, it ended up at the Yesler branch of the Seattle Public Library, the former name of the Douglas Truth Library, and was installed in 1973. And it's a great photo behind us here of that installation. We started recognizing its deterioration and wanted to spend the time and effort to ensure that we extended the life of this important artwork as long as we could. And we are thrilled to be working with Art Tech and Corinne Landreau, who's one of the top conservators in this area in the Pacific Northwest. And it's really come together through the collaboration with Black Heritage Society as well. There's just been a lot of community outreach and education, trying to make sure people knew why we were taking it down and what our interests were, making sure that we could preserve this piece of artwork for years to come.
For me, when this project first came to light for me about the soul pole coming down and being deinstalled, and I'm like, no, not the soul pole. But reaching out to Seattle Public Library, hearing the intent and the story, and them wanting to preserve the integrity of the pole, that's everything that we do at BHS, is the preservation of our legacies, our stories, and definitely the soul pole that stood at 23rd and Yesler.
So when we were on site doing our initial assessments before anything came down at all, we noticed a lot of rot and a lot of material coming away, especially at the base of the pole. The mount is actually a really great design, allows for a lot of airflow, but it also meant that we could really see the way that the interior of the wood was deteriorating. And so once we got it down and into the warehouse, Corinne Landreau, the conservator who's working with us, she suggested going to resistography, which is a process that an arborist can do, and that tracks the density of the material at different points throughout the pole. And that report allowed us to see that, in fact, the pole was stable internally, and we were going to be able to put it back out vertically, because we knew that would be the most important thing. That's what success would look like.
There's a fine line between conservation and restoration, and if a piece is to be put indoors, it just needs to be preserved and stabilized in its current state. I mean, as long as it doesn't continue to deteriorate. And then, but if it's going to be outdoors, you really need to do sort of a more involved intervention by removing the rot and doing fills and such things, so that it does not continue to deteriorate when exposed to the elements. So right here there was a crack that was, you can still see, signs of it, but it was pretty large here and there was a big loss. So after we removed the rot that was there and put some borats to address the fungus, we put some fill that's made of epoxy paste. And after we've carved and shaped the fill, we in-painted it. And I left this one here so that I could show you how I can try to match the existing color of the wood here. What happens is that the wood has wood preservative in it, and the wood preservative darkens the wood temporarily because it's oil-based. Eventually, that will lighten up, and at that point, it might be needed to sort of do a little more touch-ups because by then the fills will look a little bit too dark. So this is made out of zinc, and zinc is a really great material to use because it actually acts as a biocide as well. So when the rain hits the zinc, little metal ions, just kind of go down on the wood, with the rain, and they do act as biocides. It's ready to go. I know, and I'm very happy about how it turned out.
It's a fun partnership for us because it really allows us to do the component of our work that I think gets masked really frequently, which is how do these things get cared for? You see them all over the place, but you don't maybe see that there's this whole host of arts and culture workers who are here, many with master's degrees. They have, decades of experience that are caring for these pieces in your community, and it allows us to do more education, to do more outreach, and to really be have that be a visible part of the process and not just sort of this hidden, oh, that's a thing you can do. It is a thing you can do.
When I look at the pole, I think about the history of it and the way we preserve it and tell the stories, but what does it really mean to what's happening now and to the future? And so when I look at the pole, I want to be energized by what I see and the direction and dynamic of where the central area is headed and the evolution, of Black people in the Central District.
Soul pole represents the tenacity and significance of the African American footprint in the Central District. This is a beacon on this corner, and I'm so proud today to see it back and just, kind of fighting back the tears, just a teensy here.
He carved the top piece, the head, which represents African American awakening, our freedom, which many of us know we're still working on that to this day.
It ties into some things that I'm doing as a creative myself. My dad was a wonderful creative artist, writer, painter, sculptor, of course. And I am in the process of taking some of his paintings and reproducing them in canvas. I already have some of them as backdrops for some of my poetry in poster form. So for me, it kind of brings some of my own work full circle. It is one way of reintroducing the community at large to him that a lot of people, even back in that day, did not realize. They knew him, Gregory X, the activist. They did not know Gregory X, the artist. So I am going to reintroduce them to Rakib Mueed, the artist.
May the memory of Rakib Mueed forever be cherished. May his legacy live on, and may his people finally find their full and full humanity.